Hi, friends. I'm Betsy Hill with Betsy's World and a Fab Life Over 40.
And I'm Bob Bales with the Traveling Fool.
And today we have a special guest, Erica Backus with Visit Savannah. Erica's going to tell us all about what to do, where to play, and where to stay in Savannah. And Bob, since you've been to Savannah recently, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I got to tell you, I love Savannah. It's one of my favorite destinations to go to, period. It's a great city to visit. And I had such a blast there when I went earlier this year. And Erica, well, she's one of my favorite people, too. I love her to death. So why don't we bring her in and we'll introduce everybody to Erica.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Betsy. How are you doing?
Good.
Great.
Greetings from Savannah. And Bob, the feeling is definitely mutual. So I enjoyed having you in a beautiful destination.
Well, I tell you, it was definitely a great trip. And your people there to work with were just fabulous.
Good. You loved it. You loved it so much you came back twice. I think the first time we didn't have enough time.
That's right. I was only there a couple of days. I told you, just too much stuff to see and do in 2 days.
We brought you back for a second trip, and I think we got to show you a little bit more. I do know that we ate well. I can tell you that much.
Yes, we did. I've never shied away from good food. It's definitely the place to go if you want some food.
I can tell you, you're right up Savannah's demographic. You know, you're a history buff who enjoys good food. You know, a walking destination, and lots of beautiful aesthetics from the buildings and the flora fauna around. So you really are kind of right in the center of our perfect traveler to Savannah.
Yeah, it's a great place. I got to go again because there's still stuff I need to see that I didn't see the first time.
And Betsy, I know you're also a regular, but it's probably time to have you back down as well.
It definitely is past time.
A lot of great, exciting things happening in Savannah, even in the 20 years that I've worked here for Visit Savannah. This year, we've seen a lot of growth as far as hotel products, new restaurants, new museums. Of course, these things were all thriving pre-COVID-19, but we're just starting to see things open back up. Our restaurants are doing well. Our museums are starting to reopen. The tours are running. So, any day of the week, you're able to kind of jump on one of our historic trolley tours. We have a brand new hotel property. The JW Marriott opened a couple weeks ago. Really exciting project for Savannah. They are kind of anchoring the eastern end of River Street, which is one of our more popular visitor areas. Yeah. So now, in addition to the old cotton warehouses that once were the storehouses of the world's cotton trade, are now fun restaurants and shops and bars. And to kind of anchor that whole area is the new JW Marriott Plant Riverside District. So we're actually calling it a district because in addition to being a great JW Marriott, there's a music venue, there's shops, there's a natural history museum, just so much to see and do at just that destination alone. So we're really excited.
Marriott, I'm curious, did they take one of the historic buildings and just sort of redo it?
They did. They took the old coal burning power plant that supplied electricity, for Savannah for generations, and kept the original structures, kept the smokestacks from the building, and sort of built the hotel around it. And, historic preservation is super important to Savannah. You'll see a lot of the buildings here are repurposed. We definitely don't believe in tearing anything down. And, even new construction has to kind of adhere to a certain set of design rules. So if you're building something new, it has to match the building surrounding it as far as a look and aesthetic. So, we love our history and we've worked really hard to preserve it here.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of great properties in the historic district also. I mean, there's a lot of really nice places to stay.
Absolutely. Savannah has really kind of evolved in its accommodation offerings. I mean, in addition to very high-end properties like the new JW Marriott, we also have a Perry Lane, which is a luxury collection property for the Marriott brand. We also have different properties that hit every price point. All the major brands are here. So if you're brand loyal to either Hyatt or a Hilton, we've got that available as well. Along I-95, which is sort of the main artery into Savannah, lots of affordable properties that are great for groups, great for those traveling multi-generational. Just a variety of options throughout the city. Now, because Savannah is, blessed with, thousands of old historic homes, vacation rentals are also something that's become very popular here in Savannah. So if you're looking for kind of that girlfriend's getaway or maybe that parent-grandparent travel situation, rent a big home on a historic square and park the car and you are set. So
I love that.
Yeah, Savannah's walkability combined with just a myriad of lodging options just, make it a perfect getaway.
One of the cool things that I really like about it is the trolleys that run downtown. There's 2 or 3 different trolley lines.
Yeah.
You just jump on and jump off wherever you want to, and that's really nice.
That's right, on-off service, and that's definitely my recommendation for someone's first time to Savannah. The very first thing you should do is take the full 90-minute historic trolley tour.
Yes.
Not only will it kind of give you some great information, it helps you get your bearings so that you can then go back on foot and walk the city. And, a lot of people don't realize that the entire historic district product is only 2.2 square miles.
It's
not very big, but you feel like you're in large open spaces thanks to our 21 historic squares and parks. Lots of green space mixed in with very vibrant and beautiful streets, and definitely park a car, rent a bike, and kind of see Savannah up close and personal.
So for the readers in this group, I'm going to let out the secret that you don't hear until you take the trolley tour. As I remember, Savannah was the setting for Midnight, the Garden of Midnight.
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Barrett. Yes, that book shot to popularity and fame in the early 90s. Is actually the somewhat true, somewhat fictionalized account of John Barrett's year he spent in Savannah working for Town and Country magazine. Initially, he was sent down to cover our local debutante balls, but of course, along the way, as he started to mix and mingle in with the Savannah society, he met a voodoo priestess, an eccentric antique dealer, a character who walked a invisible dog. He met drag queens. I mean, he met the whole Savannah gamut, wrote a book about it. Unfortunately, it was about the tragic murder of Jim Williams's male lover, Danny Hansford, and the trial that ensued. But because the book was based on fact and because the book had elements of real life in Savannah, it captured the imagination of the world. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for over 100 weeks in the 90s. A feature film was produced with Clint Eastwood, starring John Cusack and I've lost his name. Kevin Spacey. That's right. Kevin Spacey played. Thank you. I've got some help over here in the corner. Kevin Spacey played Jim Williams, the main character. And I tell you what, that book really helped Savannah shoot from a sleepy, interstate city to a worldwide destination that had intrigued the minds of the world. So it's an amazing thing.
Sometimes books are good.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
They also have a lot of movies that are and TV shows that are shot there.
We have. Savannah makes the perfect period piece set, right? You can come to Savannah and not have to spend a lot of money if you're looking to shoot something anywhere from the 1700s up into the early part of the century. Our historic district is beautiful. Some of our film credits include Forrest Gump and the movie Glory. We just had a Disney production here, Lady and the Tramp, which you can find on the Disney streaming channel. The Glorias was also filmed here, which will be coming out soon, starring what's her name? What is her name? Bette Midler. my movie buff's over here helping me. Gosh, The Conspirator, so many great films. You can find a full list on our website at savannahvisit.com. But, some of the most classic parts of cinema have been filmed here in Savannah.
Well, for people that like to
Me.
we're, we know about a lot of the famous restaurants and that you have in Savannah, and there's a lot of very high, upscale restaurants and everything there.
Yeah.
So a lot of places that the average tourist just doesn't know about.
Right.
And you and your staff were nice enough to show me the best places to eat.
Yeah, like we like to kind of call off our beaten path delicacies and treasures. So, of course, Savannah is known for fine dining. Restaurants like the Old Pink House, Elizabeth on 37th, the Gray with James Beard award-winning Mashama Bailey as chef. They are really kind of making headlines across the country as some of Savannah's best cuisine. And while they are very good, there's a place called Geneva's Chicken and Cornbread that Bob and I just fell in love with. And that's Miss Geneva Wade and her family, and they're in there frying some of the best chicken and macaroni and cheese and that you've ever tasted. And that's definitely one of my favorite places.
I'm going to tell you, Betsy, they have pecan cornbread.
Yeah.
It is fabulous. They make like 6 or 7 different kind of cornbreads. There's a guy there that his sole job is making cornbread.
It's kind of a southern term. Yeah.
The pecan cornbread was fantastic.
Yeah, an old southern term down here that is actually a term of endearment is, chicken's so good and make you want to smack your mama.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That means it's some good stuff.
It is good.
Yeah, but Bob, you and I actually hit a couple other kind of, Savannah traditional favorites like the Pirate House, which is actually the oldest restaurant in the state of Georgia and was actually a bar for pirates in the 1700s. They would come into the Savannah coast to kind of wait out hurricane season in the Caribbean. And so it became an actual bar famous for its visitors from the sea.
Well, isn't it also referenced in Robert Louis Stevenson's book?
Treasure Island, right. So Robert Louis Stevenson's, if you're familiar with the book, the opening scene of the book where Billy Bones is dying. He's dying upstairs in a room in the Pirate's House in Savannah, Georgia, and it's there that he divulges the location of the map. So Savannah is made a little bit of literary history there by being one of the settings for the book Treasure Island.
They say it might even be haunted.
Yeah, it's got some interesting characters that kind of hang out there at night mostly. Some interesting things have happened at the Pirate's House, and I'm kind of one to kind of be on the fence about ghosts. I'm kind of scared to believe it because I don't want them like following me home or anything. But like, I have some friends that work at the Pirate House that have told me some pretty bone-chilling things about some of the occurrences that happen at the Pirate House. Mostly, the ghosts there like to stack dishes.
It's one of the better known places that a lot of people visit, but it's definitely a place that you need to go to.
Absolutely. Another famous old Savannah tradition is Leopold's Ice Cream. This 100-year-old ice cream shop is been in Savannah for generations, founded by the Leopold family. They are known for the quality of their cream and milk that goes into all of their delicious flavors. Some of their classic flavors include custard, tutti frutti, and of course butter pecan, which we love down here in the South. They actually are credited for inventing the flavor tutti frutti, which, if you know another famous Georgian by the name of Little Richard, wrote the song Tutti Frutti. Oh,
that's right. And Leopold actually has a connection to the film industry also.
He does. It's funny that, scooping ice cream at one of the most famous shops in the South is his part-time job. His full-time job is he was executive for Paramount Films. And so Stratton Leopold, if you check him up on IMDb, you'll see his name attached to some great films like the Captain America series, The Wolfman, A Paycheck. He's done several films with Ben Affleck, who's actually a frequent visitor to Leopold's shop here in Savannah. He's done Leopold's been in the business for years, so some of his films go all the way back to Baron von Munchausen and The Big Chill, and just great titles. And you can kind of learn more about Leopold and his career in the film industry when you come into the shop. He's he's decorated the shop with lots of movie memorabilia from his days as a producer.
Yeah, in fact, the first trip that we took was a group trip
Yeah.
for a pre-conference, and we were there. I believe it was either the same night or the night after they had their 100th anniversary.
Yeah, and we were, 100 years. Could you imagine scooping ice cream for 100 years? But gosh, the community would absolutely panic if they ever were to go away. They do a special, they'll give you a free cone if you've celebrated any of your birthdays at Leopold's Ice Cream back in the 30s and 40s in its heyday. So we got some sweet little old 90-year-old ladies coming in for their birthday ice cream cups.
Yeah, there's some great places in.
Yeah, gosh, we also Savannah is definitely known for its coastal cuisine. It's great seafood, which we were able to experience at the Pirates House. But we're also known for barbecue. We do a pretty good barbecue here, and one of the favorite restaurants in Savannah is Sandfly Barbecue, and they've got a couple locations here. One of which is in an old converted Streamliner train car, and if it's not for the great barbecue, the pulled pork, the smoked chicken, the brisket, it's the sides that get you in there. And so their collard greens and their mac and cheese and their baked beans, all delicious.
I think I went to their original location
in Sandfly, yeah.
Right, and it's a good place. When I walked in the door, and there were about 30 or 40 takeout plates that they were loading in their van,
ready to
deliver for lunch.
That's right.
Anytime you walk into a place and they've got that stacked up and they're hauling it around for lunch, you're in a good place.
It's good. Yeah, you can always tell by the clientele how good the food is, right? Hardworking people love good food. So, yeah. Trailer Park is another one of our favorite kind of hidden places. It's really kind of off the main beaten path in Savannah. You have to go down an alley and take a left behind a building, and this great outdoor bar appears. One of the favorites there, I think, that you and I had, Bob, was the peanut butter and jelly wings. Now, Trailer Park is
it sounds weird, Bethany, but it is delicious.
Yeah,
I trust you.
And Trailer Park is exactly how it sounds. The owner's name is Trey, but he actually has found a way to do upscale trailer park food, if you will. So, not to be a negative reference, but tater tots and fried bologna sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly wings and trash can nachos and kind of all those kind of favorite foods kind of presented in an upscale way. And so it's a lot of fun at the trailer park. I think we had a great time. Yeah. So
you'd love it, Betsy, because they have some fantastic food there.
We did. They did apple pie sandwiches and all kinds of great things. Yeah. So he's got a couple other restaurants in town. Sticking with kind of the trailer park theme, his other restaurant's called Hitch. So Hitch and Trailer. So again, another popular spot for cocktails, definitely among the millennial crowd, but a good spot nonetheless. So.
Yeah, you can definitely. There's something for everyone there. Whether it's a donut shop in the morning, which I went to Rise Biscuits one day. So Rise, I think they call it Rise Southern Biscuits and Righteous Chicken.
Right. That sounds good.
They have donuts, they have biscuits and chicken, and then they serve chicken dinners for lunch. And it's just a little unassuming place, but it's really, really good if you want to just cook breakfast in the morning. And then they have burger joints. I tell you, one of the best places that I had a burger was Betsi Bob.
Betsi Bob at the American Legion building here in Savannah, which many locals will tell you have the best prices on cocktails in town. Betsi Bob is definitely, again, one of those off the beaten path places. You kind of have to know where it is or know somebody who can tell you where it is. And they do have fantastic whole hand burgers, really good. They kind of, they've kind of gone with
hand-cut onion wings. And
they've got kind of
done their decor in like a World War II type decor.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, definitely World War II decor. The true bomber girl kind of, mascot there, kind of representing the place. But a great place. Nothing
And that
fancy, just a good burger.
is just a good burger. And the
Yeah.
American Legion Hall is where the mighty 8th Air Force was founded.
The original 98th Air Force, which was a Air Force Guard during the Second World War, and they were important during some of the bombing runs over Germany, of course, during the Blitz in that area. And so we actually have a full museum dedicated to the men and women of the mighty 8th Air Force Museum, and it's a very moving museum. It's it not only just talks about this one particular air unit, but it just talks about the service that Americans the Americans faced during the Second World War. Everybody played a part in the war, even from Rosie the Riveter down to the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts helping to sell war bonds. So it's a truly moving museum. I definitely recommend it. They are our greatest generation, and if we don't celebrate them, they will be lost. So I definitely encourage all people to go back and
I went and visited that museum, and the Mighty 8th is still an active Air Force unit, but this museum is dedicated to the period of when they were in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the old World War II movie, 12 O'Clock High? That was based, it's a fictional unit within the Mighty 8th Air Force. It's in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very good museum because it talks about all the various units, the people there, all the Medal of Honor recipients that were in the Mighty 8th during that time. And it goes on to talk about other aspects of the Air Force that were important in World War II, but the main focus on it is the Mighty 8. But
Yeah.
talk about, the Tuskegee Airmen and the women Air Force pilots that ferried units back and forth across the ocean and other things like that. It's a great museum.
And the Mighty Eighth is just one of several spectacular museums we have in our community. I think, Bob, you also got over to the Webb Military Museum. Did you make it over to the Webb? Yeah, a small museum. It's a private collection from a private collector who has a small museum celebrating a lot of the military memorabilia through clothing and art and things. So definitely, if you're World War One or Two buff, check out both the Mighty Eighth and the Webb Museum.
Wow.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. If you're not so much into war history and are just more into kind of pretty houses in the colonial era, we definitely recommend you check out the Davenport House Museum, which is one of the finest examples of English Regency architecture in Savannah. It really kind of focuses a lot on the Davenport family and how they lived in the early 1800s, complete with original furnishings and dishes. One of their main exhibits is of the dishware, the cookware that house has. Probably my favorite museum in town is Owens Thomas House and Slave Quarters. It's one of the few remaining urban slave quarters in the country. And by urban, I mean not on a plantation setting, but in a city setting. The house itself is gorgeous. It's got the big welcoming arm staircases. It's in the original colors of the period that the home was built. It was one of the first houses in the state to have electricity, and it just really tells a beautiful story of the family that lived there. Recently, and I'm so glad they have done a reinterpretation of the enslaved people who worked in the home. For a long time, the slave quarters were just a part of the tour, but they've gone back and sort of reinterpreted the life of the people that lived and worked for the Owens and Thomas families there. So you can see everything from the families that lived in the big house to learning about the lives and experiences of the enslaved people that lived there as well. So fantastic museum.
I'm glad to hear that because that's I think it's important that you see not just the family but the entire history of everyone, because right now, and we can't really dance around it, but right now is critical. It's a critical turning point in our country. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very, very apropos to exploring the lives of the house slaves
That's
and
right.
the field hands as well
Yeah.
as family, because people, I think the pictures have gotten skewed through the years,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we're not necessarily seeing life the way that we thought we were seeing it.
That's right. Yeah. It's like you down here in the South. Yeah, our whole economy, was built on the back of slave labor, and so it's important to tell the story of those,
Yes.
that helped create the foundations of this country, along with those that took credit for it. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, because believe me, even though people took credit for it, my husband's family is they've been around since the
yeah,
1600s, and he he tells me all the time it's so important to go
hmm
back to your roots,
absolutely.
and not just the roots of our family, but the roots of the families that helped build the South.
That's right. That's right. And Owens Thomas has done a fantastic job. A lot of the other house museums here are taking their lead and also looking and doing reinterpretations of the whole story of that site, that purpose, and that family. So, Savannah's taken some fantastic steps towards equality and inclusion in telling the story of our community, our history, and our what made us prosperous. So.
It's important to cover that. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, so glad, so glad. Yeah, and one thing they say in Savannah, they ask you 3 questions when you move here: Who's your daddy? Where do you go to church? And the
Yep.
third is, what do you want to drink?
Yep.
And to help to help answer that question, we've got the American Prohibition Museum here in Savannah, a relatively new museum. They opened up a couple years ago, and I tell you, I was a little skeptical. I was like, how interesting can that be? But let me tell you, they've done a fantastic job. They take you all the way from the moonshiners out in the country to NASCAR, which actually started as a bootlegging operation to move booze
Ma'am.
across state lines. So it is a fantastic history of prohibition in the United States and its repeal in 1929. And so if you've got a couple hours, I definitely recommend, even if you're not a booze connoisseur, taking a look at the museum. There's some amazing history there, and they've done a great job interpreting it through wax figures and interactive displays and all kinds of great things. And if you knock on the right door, you'll exit through the speakeasy, where you still can get your bathtub gin and your bee's knees.
That's right.
Kind of those old 20 throwback cocktails. So, and if you're really brave, they've got cocktail classes for you in the evening. So I definitely recommend taking some time to check out the American Prohibition Museum.
And the museum is located in the City Market area, right?
That's right. That's right. City Market is one of our more popular attractions. It's a kind of like the name says, it was the original city market where farmers would come in to sell their vegetables and their textiles and their wares. Now it's an area of shops and restaurants and live music venues, kind of the gathering place, if you will, for people on the weekends. Lots of great art to check out. Lots of vendors usually are milling about, and it's really just one of the areas that really adds vibrancy to the city. Savannah's alive. We don't roll the sidewalks up at dark. I mean, that's when our city really comes alive. And if you like a little bit of nightlife, the historic district is definitely for you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Savannah is one of the few places where you can get a cocktail and walk around with it.
You are not wrong. We have very liberal open container laws, which is something that our leadership and our city government thought would be a good idea to kind of help boost tourism. And boy, were they right! I think that's what makes Savannah nightlife so fun. You can grab what we like to call here your go cup once you leave a restaurant or a bar. Take your cocktail with you and walk the street to your next location. And so bar hopping is a lot of fun, especially if you're here for a girls trip or a guys trip. You'll see a lot of folks kind of enjoying their cocktails out in the streets and in our parks and in our squares. So
I know Betsy's interested in like romantic destinations and girl trips and stuff.
Yeah. So what's not romantic about Savannah? If the aesthetic alone doesn't get you with the large live oaks, the Spanish moss dripping, there's always a little bit of warmth in the air, kind of like a warm hug. Savannah is just a place for romance. We've got horse and carriage tours for two. Like I said, we've got those fantastic restaurants for date night out. Some of the most romantic bed and breakfasts we have here. We have over 30 B&Bs that kind of offer that definitely unique, luxurious experience in kind of a bed and breakfast setting. So those can be quite romantic and quite fun. If you're more of a like late night moonlight walk person, we definitely recommend heading out to Tybee Island. That's Savannah's beach. It's only about 20 minutes from the historic district. You can get there by car, and it's definitely you can get there by Uber or cab if you need to. Great stretches of white sand beaches. We've got lighthouses. We've got little swings for two all along the beach. Definitely kind of a great place to throw a blanket down and have a romantic moment with your honey.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, there's a lot of things to see and do there. And
Yeah.
you get a lot of people that are coming through the drive-by area, the drive-by market, but where are you seeing most of your people coming from?
Yeah, so of course, like all destinations around the country, we're dealing in the, post-pandemic world. Prior to the emergence of COVID-19, Savannah was averaging about 14 million visitors a year. The majority of those people were coming in from the larger cities through airports, and then a lot were also driving in from our 3 to 6 hour radius. Atlanta being our number one feeder market, probably is first, with sort of the New York tri-state area being second, the Midwest being third, and then Northern Florida being fourth and fifth. So now we're seeing air travel on the decline. So the majority of our customers now are coming in from that 3 to 4 hour travel market. Folks that are just sick of being cooped up in home, and they're looking to get out no matter what. And so right now, because the demand is lower than it usually is in different years, you're able to get a really good deal on a high-end property in this historic district. If you visited Savannah before and maybe couldn't attack the rates of the historic district, which could run from upwards of $300 a night, now's your time. Things are relatively open here in Savannah. Like I said, the museums are open, the tours are open. Now's the time to come in and definitely experience the area with your family, with your friends. You'll get some great deals on properties, and the restaurants and the attractions aren't so full. So, we're still welcoming folks. We're highly accessible. I-95 goes right outside the city. I-75 ends right in the city, and if you can fly in from New York, Boston, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Denver, Columbus, Canton, Dayton, Ohio direct.
Wow.
So several. So it's just an easy reach destination, and so we definitely encourage folks to come back and see us. We're ready.
That's awesome.
We're here. We've been open. So yeah. So.
What for somebody who's never been to Savannah, how many days would you recommend they come for the first time?
Oh gosh, Savannah is definitely a 3.5 night stay, right? So it's definitely maybe a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and a half day on either end. So it's a good 3 day weekend is probably a good start for your first time. Definitely can't do it all in 3 days, but if you've got 3 days, then
one of the things I found is that even if you just stayed in the historic district, which you're missing out on a lot, but if you stayed there, you could spend a good 2 or 3 days just
walking
easily,
and seeing everything and all the museums and the restaurants, the galleries and everything else.
Absolutely. You pick a route. If you can take You could take the architecture route one day. You could do the antique route one day. You could do the foodie route one day. You could bar hop one day. 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at some of the best restaurants in the country. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a five day 5 day or more destination. But to keep you coming back for more and make you a regular visitor, we recommend 3.5 days that first time until you come back again. Yeah, so that's it. That's Savannah.
Well, Bob, you're right. Truly, you could just stay. You are missing out if you just stay in the historic district. But that's a good introduction, and then kind of do a concentric circle around. And we've seen a little bit of Savannah. We've not scratched the surface though, and we know that. And we've been to Savannah probably, well, at least 10 times in 32 years. But we've seen it change. But you mentioned romance, and I'm going to go back to something. You mentioned the carriage rides.
Yeah,
that is beyond probably the best ending to a romantic dinner evening that we have ever experienced. The carriage rides in Savannah are some of the best.
They are, and it's so in the days of the pandemic, a lot of the research that we follow says that people are looking for open air spaces, right? So we've seen an increase in the outdoor dining options with our restaurants that already exist. The city's made some accommodations that if you have a restaurant on a street, they'll allow you to take up the first 3 parking lots in front of your restaurant so that you can move some of your chairs and tables outside to kind of accommodate folks that want to be kind of in that open air. Everything about Savannah lends itself to open spaces and fresh air, between all the beautiful tree canopies and all the green space that's available to walk and sit in. You really can feel not crowded and open and free. Open air carriage ride through the historic district when the sun's going down and the street lights are on and uplighting our beautiful homes is definitely a bucket list activity. You definitely want to come to a horse and carriage ride in Savannah if you can.
Yeah, I think there's something there for everyone because we took a walking ghost tour one night. Mm-hmm. They had the walking tours of the haunted areas of downtown Savannah. And then I think Savannah is like second only to New Orleans for cemetery tours.
Yeah, we've got over 30 companies that offer some type of ghost tour, and you can take it in any form or fashion. We've got your haunted pub crawl, where a little bit of alcohol may help you see a couple ghosts. We also have, of course, your carriage rides that will take you on a haunted theme. You can go by foot, you can go by trolley, you can go by hearse. We have a company here called the Savannah Hearse Tours, which has taken 2 old converted hearses, added some bench seating, and you can tour the historic district in a hearse. And like the boys over there like to say, it's only the second time you'll ride in a hearse, hopefully.
You've got the famous cemeteries there too that you don't think of cemeteries as a tourist attraction, but I went by there and there was at least 150 people walking around the cemetery.
They really are. So we are unique because we have one of the first cemeteries in the city right in the middle of downtown. And one of the interesting things about the Colonial Park Cemetery that Bob is referring to is that the borders that exist today are not the original borders of the cemetery. Of course, as the city grew around the cemetery, of course, they built on top of, unmarked graves. And so really, that's one of the reasons why a lot of the buildings that surround the Colonial Park Cemetery have a little bit more a supernatural phenomenon than some of the others, right? And so we've got a lot of buildings built on top of the dead. You had a lot of tragedies like wars and disease that took people quickly from this earth. And so a lot of my ghost experts here say that those are some of the reasons why Savannah is one of most America's haunted cities. People have unfinished business here, and they are stuck and drawn to the places they died until they can move on to that next plane. So very, very interesting stories.
Yep, there's a lot of history there, from Revolutionary War history up to,
Civil
present.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super interesting. And Betsi, you talked about being a time visitor to Savannah. Really, we find a lot in our research that a lot of people that visited Savannah have visited before, and so that's one of the reasons why we have spent a lot of time highlighting some of the neighborhoods in Savannah. Just outside the historic district is the Starland district, and the Starland district is more of where a lot of the Victorian architecture exists, and we're kind of seeing an emergence there of fun, funky coffee shops and homespun breweries and cool little outdoor cafes. We like to call it kind of our hipster hangout, right? It's where the where like some of the vegan food stores are and where our food truck park is, and so it's really kind of emerging as kind of that second layer. Once you've been to Savannah and you've done the historic district product, people are now coming in and exploring the Starland district product. People are coming in and exploring Tybee Island. They're coming in and exploring our Moon River district, which is part of the islands area of the Savannah MSA. And of course, Moon River, like it suggests, is named is the inspiration for Savannah native and homegrown son Johnny Mercer and his song Moon River. So it is the actual Moon River, and there's several attractions out there, including Bethesda Home for Boys, which is the oldest orphanage in the United States, as well as Wormslow Plantation and Pinpoint Heritage Museum. And Pinpoint Heritage Museum is a area dedicated to the life and to the history of the Geechee Gullah people that lived along the southeast coast.
Yeah, and the historic district, which everybody knows about, you get a lot of adult couples going there, but Savannah has stuff to do for families. You mentioned Tybee Island, which is Savannah's beach, basically.
Right.
But what else?
I think I may have lost you a little bit, but I think I got the gist of your question about is what's Savannah got to have to do for families. And Savannah Historic District is definitely an adult playground, but there's several attractions there that kind of lend itself to being great family fun activities. One is the Juliet Gordon Low birthplace. And of course, Juliet Gordon Low was the founder of the Girl Scouts of America. And so it's a fantastic museum for children, especially those young girls that may have participated in Girl Scouting. We also have the Savannah Roundhouse, which is our old train museum, where they actually have a full working locomotive on a turnstile, as well as a blacksmith shop and other cool things for kids to kind of explore and learn a little bit more about our history. The Savannah Children's Museum is located very close by the Railroad Roundhouse Museum. And of course, at the Jepson Center for the Arts, they have a very, very nice interactive children's museum in there as well. And that's in the historic district. But if your kids need to run around a little bit and help get some of that energy out, Tybee Island is a family mecca. Between just the great surf at the beach, we've got activities like dolphin tours and paddle boarding and jet skis and nature walks. The Tybee Marine Science Center is out there for kids. It's really just a great combination of, historic districts where mom and dad can have some fun, and Tybee Island where the whole family can have some fun.
Yeah, Tybee's a great place. I mean, I spent a lot of time there, but I did go there a couple of times. And besides, they have great seafood restaurants, of course, but there's, they have a history of World War II.
Yeah, they do. Fort Pulaski's out there, which is one of the few pentagonal forts left in the country. It was withstood 30 hours of bombardment from Union soldiers before it eventually fell, but it's still considered one of the best, architecturally designed forts in the country.
Oh, Fort Pulaski is a great place to visit.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
also have Fort Screven, which was World War II on Tybee Island.
Fort Screven was World War II. This goes back to kind of our historic preservation. People actually, instead of tearing down the old fort when it was no longer in service, used it for condos. They turned a lot of the barracks areas into fantastic beachfront condos now. And so if you ever want to go stay a night in the old historic military fort, check out Fort Screven on Tybee Island.
Yeah, I know if you drive around the island, you see a little sign that said officer orders, the commissary.
Right.
Where are we? But yeah, Tybee Island's a cool place to visit.
Tybee Island is great. Yeah. And like you said, great seafood. There's several little fishing communities right off the Tybee where the shrimp comes in fresh every day. That wild Georgia shrimp, trademarked, is kind of our specialty out there. It's considered to be sweeter than your average shrimp, mostly because of the thick marshes that grow along the Georgia coast, kind of act as an estuary to help these shrimp grow, and so we've got just really supreme seafood coming out of it.
I don't remember the name of the place we ate the first time I was there that you took.
Yeah, the Crab Shack.
That place is fantastic. I mean, it's huge. It's not indoors, but it's covered in various pavilions.
Right.
4 or 5 pavilions, and you sit there, and they have fabulous food.
Big platters of fresh seafood, fresh shrimp and crab and mussels, and you name it.
Big platters. And then the last time I went to Coco's, and then I had the shrimp at Coco's, and it was fabulous.
Delicious. Yeah, Tybee's got some great places right there on the water. A view with every meal if you eat on Tybee. Even from Coco's to Crab Shack down to AJ's on the back of the river for oysters and crab stew. So Tybee's got some great dining options as well.
Well, as anything, when you try and deal with live technology, you have problems. And Betsy's been having problems coming in and out. But I think she's here now. The video may not be catching up with the audio.
I am here.
Oh, hi, Betsy.
Yeah, the video is not catching up with the audio.
No, but it'll stable out.
Yeah, but jump in there, Betsy, because I know you got a couple of questions.
So, you mentioned about Tybee, and one of the things that people don't realize is that everybody says, "Oh, Low Country is Charleston."
Yeah,
Low Country may be Charleston, but Low Country is also Savannah. And one of the things that you hit on was crab soup, and I'm curious because I grew up in Virginia, and we have she crabs. So tell me about the crab soup.
Yeah, so Low Country is definitely a part of the United States that people say typically starts at Myrtle Beach and goes down to the northern tip of Florida, and it really describes the low, wet lands of Charleston, Savannah, and the communities in between. And they're definitely unique for their own food crops, right? So like cotton grows well in the Low Country climate with the wet soil and the warm temperatures and red rain, as does okra and corn, tomatoes, rice. Those were all of the kind of the crop staples that really helped make the South, a food powerhouse. And not to mention the shrimp. I was just telling Bob about how the coastal waters with their marshlands make our seafood special and sweet. If you ask me, I think they all have kind of a sweet flavor. And so
good.
Yeah, and you often find what people call Low Country cooking, which is a combination of all of those ingredients. So you see a lot of gumbos, you see a lot of rice and tomato dishes. There's a big use of okra, and of course there's everything from the sea gets used in Low Country cooking. And so one of my favorites is crab stew, and it's basically, the blue crab. A lot of people think it may be like a king crab, like you may get in a crab leg place, but it's the blue crab, and it's the meat combined with like a little cream, a little sherry.
Low Country, really good.
And it just makes for a delightful, creamy, delicious comfort food. Yeah. So
Now,
There you go.
Tybee is also known for a little bit of shopping.
Yeah,
And of course, for any girlfriend's getaway, you need shopping. So
you
tell
do.
us a little bit about the shopping, because Bob, I know you didn't do any shopping.
Yeah.
No,
So one of my favorite things about Savannah's retail scene is that Savannah's home to Savannah College of Art and Design, which is a arts college that focuses on everything from fashion, jewelry design, to painting, to craftsmanship with furniture. And so you've got some fantastic talent that's being cultivated here in Savannah, and a lot of them stay and open businesses here. And so there's a couple of shops here. Satchel is one that comes to mind. She does custom leather handbags. 24E is a local furniture store who has designs by students who graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design. You've got a local jeweler. You've got Adam Tironi, the chocolate maker. All of these folks are SCAD grads that have opened businesses here and have some of the most unique products in the world. What you won't find in Savannah are a lot of chains. You won't find like a Gap or I'm sorry, like a Brooks Brothers or a Gap. You see, most of our shops are local businesses with local owners making unique products. And so I always tell people, go shopping along Broughton Street. You'll definitely find something here that you can't find anywhere else in the world. Another one of my favorite stores is Savannah Bee Company. It's a local honey maker. Yeah, he makes everything from edible honeys to face washes and hand soaps. And so, so many great entrepreneurs here doing some really fun things in the world of retail and shopping. So you can definitely get your shot to your drop on here in Savannah.
there is one place downtown. We stopped at breakfast one day, and they've got a little counter where they sell coffee and croissants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's the name of that place? I can't remember offhand. It's antiques and
the Paris Market.
There we go.
Yeah, the Paris
that place
Market.
Has got,
you have to get antiques.
Yeah, you'd love that one, Betsy. I mean, they've got
Betsy.
a lot of stuff in there.
That's the store that I say has everything you never know you needed.
Don't say that too loud, because we're getting ready to build a house.
Oh yeah.
We're going up to Central Florida, and I'm a big one for repurposing. And everywhere we go, I'm like, Jim, we have to stop. It's an antique store. Nope, gotta keep going. I'm like, no, we gotta go.
Well, if you make it up here, I'll show you all the hot spots.
Sounds like a plan.
And for those who have never been in Savannah, I can tell you, it is one of the most beautiful places to visit. And if you have any doubt, during the Civil War, General Sherman made his march to the sea and burned down everything in the world. And then he got to Savannah and said it was so beautiful that he refused to burn it down and gave it as a president to Abraham Lincoln.
That's right. That's right. Then there, Bob, like all Savannah stories, there's another version.
Yeah.
Of that story.
What's the other version?
And so the version you told is probably the most well-known version of that story. But the one you probably don't know is that Sherman had a mistress here in Savannah.
I have heard that.
Who begged him, do not burn my daddy's land. And he didn't, just for her.
I had heard that story. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, behind every great man, there's a great woman who doesn't want her city burned to the ground.
Right. And, well, we're all glad that he didn't, because
that's right.
It is beautiful.
Yes.
It's one of the only cities where it's laid out in squares.
It is military design, best for fortifying. At the time, our biggest enemy and threat was the Spanish down in La Florida. So, the city was designed to protect Charleston from any type of invasion out of Florida from the Spanish. And, Savannah was founded 1733 as a charter colony from England. John James Oglethorpe came with 24 people who he basically bailed out of debtor's prison to come start this new colony here in Savannah. The colony started with a couple basic charters, and one was there would be no rum, because these people already been in trouble with the law. The last thing they need is rum. There would be no lawyers, because these people didn't enjoy law. And third, there would be no Catholics because Catholics were papists and loyal to the Spanish in Florida. And fourth, there would be no slavery because as a community, they wanted every man to be equal and free. And so those were the original charters when the colony of Savannah was founded. And so as you can imagine, didn't take very long for eventually all of them to fall away. But you know what? We tried. So we definitely have lawyers, booze, and a very large, active, wonderful Catholic community. So
it's really interesting when you study the history of Florida and Georgia, how they dovetail.
yeah,
Of course, you have to start in St. Augustine, but in order to connect all the dots, really, it's St. Augustine to St. Simon's to Savannah. And for some reason, they all intersect, and they intersect with one person, and that is Oglethorpe.
Oglethorpe, that's right. General James Oglethorpe.
Yep.
He held it together. So he did. Very good. Very good. Well, we'll have to write that. We'll have to create a trail that takes you through all three of those cities, studying.
That would be fabulous.
History. Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good.
Erica, thank you for sharing with us.
Welcome, Betsi.
Visit Savannah and all that there is to do, because we only see a small part of it. And I hope that you have whet the appetite of some of our viewers and some of our followers to come and visit Savannah.
Well, I sure hope so. And if you're looking for any additional information, you can always find us at visitsavannah.com, or you can go to thetravelingfool.com, where Bob has some great stories that he's written and published about his trip and his experiences in Savannah, Georgia.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Erica. Is there anything you want to say before we leave?
We're open for business, and we're looking forward to seeing y'all in the fall.
I look forward to coming back there again.
Sounds like a plan.
Great. And you too, Betsi.
Thank you, Erica.
No problem. Thank you for having me. All righty.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, Betsi, I think we had a pretty good visit with Visit Savannah and Erica.
I think so too. I can't get her to be removed, but
well, hopefully we'll be on in another week or so, and we'll bring you another destination. And by then, we will try to work out all the bugs where the video and the voice work together.
yep, it's always something. So thank you. And friends, keep following, and we will be back in another week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.